Good morning, everybody. We're so glad you're with us today. Out of that heat. My goodness, hopefully you've been staying cool. Come on, let's stand up together. Y'all can fill in the front if you want to. You don't have to sit in the back. Or you can sit in the back if you want. I get it. Yeah. Here we go. I woke up early in the morning just to see the light of day. I had to open up the windows, get the shadows out my way. Banana pancakes for my problems found me jamming to old Jack Johnson. I swear I heard those angel calls. Lay outside as heaven falls, as heaven falls, heaven falls down on me, as heaven falls, as heaven falls, heaven falls down on me, yeah. There's nothing quite like all this color. I couldn't paint a better day. Got good times on the horizon, I can see them on their way. A couple birds came up beside me, had to play them some Bob Marley. I swear I heard the angels call. Lay outside as heaven falls. Come on, sing it. As heaven falls, heaven falls down on me, yes. As heaven falls, as heaven falls, heaven falls down on me, yeah. Hey. Yeah, y'all feel that? That's a little Bob Marley for you. We're gonna sing a song, y'all know it. One love, let's sing it together. Singing one love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Yeah. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and we will feel alright. Everybody sing. One love, one heart. Yeah, let's get together and feel alright. Oh, one love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and we will feel alright. As heaven falls, as heaven falls, heaven falls down on me. As heaven falls, as heaven falls, yeah, heaven falls down on me, yeah. I love it. I love it. Y'all look so good today. You're welcome. We do have a side of lights out, so maybe that's not why. Y'all look great. You obviously look great. I can see you. We're glad you're with us today at Grace Point, where you are safe and loved and seen exactly how you are, exactly how you exist. We celebrate you and love you. Let's sing some songs. We've got some questions and answers that we're going to do a little later, but we're so glad you're with us. Y'all know it. If you're lost and you're lonely, go and figure out why. You take a trip to your dark side. Go on and have a good cry. 'Cause we're all lonely. We're all lonely. Say it. Say it together, yeah. Yes. I wanna see your sadness. I want to be let in. I want to share your joy, and I want to be your friend. 'Cause don't you just, yeah, don't we all just want to be together? Yes, Yes, we do. So leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Yes. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Here we go. When your face is down, we'll take a look around. Do your fingers move? Do your lungs inflate? Are you tired? Are you weary of the hidden hate you've been holding? Ooh, oh, oh. And did you lose that love, or have you never had it? Are you feeling sad cause you did a bad thing? Whoa. Y'all can clap. Are you feeling fearful, sister? Are you feeling fearful, sister? The only way to lose that fearful feeling, replace it with love that's healing. Oh, are you feeling fearful, brother? Are you feeling fearful, sister? Oh, leave what's heavy. Yeah, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy. Go on. What's heavy behind. Come on, y'all sing. What's heavy, yeah. What's heavy behind. One more time, sing. Leave what's heavy. What's heavy behind. Yeah. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Thank y'all for singing with us. We'd love for y'all to make some friends amongst, we actually came out with more than we thought we'd have today. Thank you for being here, but to make some friends, and we'll be back in just a second.
Hey, good morning, Grace Point. It is great to see you, whether you're here with us in the room in Nashville or whether you're joining us online. Can we take a minute and welcome the online community and say good morning to them? So glad y'all are here with us. We're going to pause right now in the middle of the gathering for a time to reflect and celebrate communion. If you're new with us this week, this is one of the things we do every week that's sort of a radical act. Now, I realize Christians all over the world today are going to celebrate communion. It's what's going to happen. But for us, it has a more radical meaning in that it reminds us of the way of Jesus. And by the way of Jesus, I mean the way he showed up in the world. Building an inclusive table that welcomed every member of the human family to participate. And ritual is one of those places that people often weaponize and keep people from. And so here we just want to make sure at the front end we let people know that it is not expected that you'll participate. There are lots of good reasons why folks may decide that they don't want to participate on any given week or at all. That's totally fine. Please feel no pressure. If you just want to hang out at your seat, reflect, meditate, say a prayer, make a grocery list, whatever that looks like for you, this is a place for you to do that. But we also want to create space for people who want to celebrate communion or also just want to reclaim the space that is theirs. And so if you want to do that today, we're going to have communion available on both sides. It is gluten-free and alcohol-free, so everybody can participate at either place. And each week before we celebrate communion, we read a liturgy together just as an act of welcome and inclusion. And I'd love to invite you to read this with me. And let's not just read it as if we're reading it just into the ether. Let's imagine we're reading it to each other, that you're speaking to your neighbor this morning and reminding them, or that you're speaking to your online neighbor this morning and reminding them that they're welcome and embraced here. So let's read this. Come to this table, you who have much faith and you who struggle with believing, you who have been here often and you who have come for the first time, you who are at peace and you who feel despair. We are all part of the human family and there is a place for us here. Christ invites everyone to the table. May this bread and wine unite us all. Amen. You're welcome to celebrate on either side as you're ready.
Sing of your love, though the seasons come quickly, you have always been enough. While the night may get darker, though the waiting seems long, you have always been faithful to remind me of your love. And you are consistent through the ages. Oh, what a friend of mine. So I'll remind my soul to bless you, standing firm upon your truth, knowing you cannot be shaken, 'cause I've seen what you can do. Oh, you are good. In the morning I'll sing you are good, and in the evening I'll sing you are good. You are good to me. Will y'all stand with me and sing that this morning? Sing, you are good. Yes, you are good. In the morning I'll sing you are good. In the evening I'll sing you are good. You are good to me. You keep on getting better. 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 Keep on getting better. You keep on getting better. Come on, sing that with me. You keep on getting better. You keep on getting, yes you do, God. Keep on getting better. Keep on getting better. Keep on getting better. You keep on getting better. You keep on getting better. You keep on getting better. Sing, you are good. In the morning I'll sing you are good, and in the evening I'll sing you are good. You are good to me. And our voices sing, you are good. You are good. In the morning I'll sing you are good. In the evening I'll sing you are good. You are good to me. Lovely, lovely. You can be seated. Thank you.
Good morning again, everybody. It's great to see you. I missed y'all last week. I was in Lexington, Kentucky at Bluegrass United Church of Christ with my friend Kenny Bishop, who's the pastor there. It's just a lovely community. Reminds me a lot of this one. And had a great time being with them, but of course always miss y'all. And jumped online in time to catch Kat's sermon, which was just fantastic. So let's thank Kat for just an incredible job last week. And next Sunday, I'm going to be out one more time. I'm going to be, where am I going to be? I'm going to be in Moorhead, Kentucky next Sunday at First Baptist Church, not that kind of Baptist. They don't let me in anymore, but the other kind of Baptist. And it's a community that in the last couple of years hired their first queer pastor, associate pastor. And they said, hey, would you come and be with us on a Sunday? And so I think that's a good use of our time. To go encourage that community. Our founding pastor, Stan Mitchell, will be here next Sunday. And for those of you who haven't heard, Stan's precious mom passed away this week. And so the service is on Tuesday in Paragould, Arkansas, where they're from. So I know they'd appreciate all the thoughts, prayers, good vibes, anything you could send their way, and make sure to give him a hug for me next week as well. So before we jump in, I want to let you know a couple of things. First of all, if you have a phone with you, I'm assuming that's most of you, will you scan that real quick? Scan that QR code. And I want to tell you about something that's happening that we really want you to be a part of. Really a couple things. So we're having a end of summer what do we call it, a bash? Is it a bash? Social. The bash is something else. The bash is for volunteers. If you're a volunteer here or interested in volunteering, when you scan that, click the volunteer bash, backyard bash. That's to celebrate our volunteers and to just spend some time together. At the end of August, we'd love for you to be a part of that. But on August 10th, we're having an end of summer social here. It's going to be a potluck. We'd invite you to click that link, sign up, let us know you're coming, how many people you're bringing with you, and what you're bringing a side, a dessert, whatever that looks like. So if you would do that and let us know that you're going to be here. It'll be in 2 weeks, right after the gathering. We'll put the tables back out and we'll eat together and just spend some time hanging out. And we also want to use that as an opportunity to do something to support our partners here at Carter Lawrence. And one of the things they told me is they have school supply lists, but there are certain things that teachers need they can't put on those lists. And it's all of these things. It's also at the link if you click it. There's a list of them. But this is all the stuff they need throughout the year that isn't included on their supply lists. And the principal here, Dr. Sanders, who's been a great friend and partner to us, said if we could help supply some of this for the teachers here in the building, they would really appreciate it. And so you can bring it on that day and we'll collect it all up and we'll make sure they get it that week so that teachers have it and they're stocked for a new school year. Does that sound fun? So now that you've got the link out, you might as well just register. Like, what else are you going to do right now? Listen to me. Just go ahead and register. Let us know you're coming. We'd love to be able to share a meal with you. And just, it's a great way to get to know other people here in the community as well. So today we're wrapping up our series we've been in all summer called Grab Bag. And it has been essentially just I asked, what do you want to talk about? You gave me things you wanted to talk about. And I thought one of the interesting ways to wrap up a series like this, maybe just to take some time on a Sunday, we do this occasionally, and just field questions. Because there are things maybe you didn't hear or see that I asked if you had something you wanted to hear me talk about or hear us talk about or whatever. And so today we're just going to spend some time fielding questions. I'm going to pay attention online here in case our online folks have some questions they want to have addressed as well. So here's how we'll do this. I'll just say, what do you want to talk about? And you throw your hand up and ask a question. Does that work? And if you don't participate, then the sermon won't go well, and it won't just be my fault this time. It'll be our fault together. So I will share the blame on this one. So anybody want to let's pretend the first person went, so all the pressure's off. Who wants to ask the second question? Bonnie.
Hi. How do you go about talking to your family about being queer or being out in the community? It's taken my family a long time to get there. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of other people fall into that.
Yeah, so Bonnie's question was about how do you talk to your family about being queer? I would maybe even add, how do you, for some of us who maybe aren't queer, how do we talk to our family about our theology, about the current political moment where things are a mess right now, y'all. And I just got to be honest with you. I was hoping somebody else would have the answer to that question because I found it to be a challenge. I think about that story when Jesus quotes the proverb, a prophet is not without honor except in their hometown. And I know there are some folks who have painstakingly stubbornly just kept showing up and kept trying to have those conversations. And I think if somebody is at a spot where that feels safe and not too draining and not too harmful, that's great. I think it's also helpful maybe to try to let other people. So, I know my mom reads my books, but I know we don't agree theologically, and I don't think my books are ever going to move her. So if I were going to suggest a book, I would suggest a book by somebody else. Who's writing on topics that I would find helpful. So it may be that for folks who feel like I can show up for these conversations and it's not going to take too much out of me, it's not going to, but if it is, because self-care is really important, especially right now, it's really important. It may be helpful to find other resources. And it may be that when you go to visit, you accidentally leave a copy of Colby Martin's Unclobber on the table. Which I think is one of the best resources for helping people. And it could be that you say to somebody you love, I know you love me and you know I love you. It would mean the world to me if you would read this and just hear me out and just be open. And if you can, people don't often change long-held beliefs overnight. But if you can begin to help people realize there are other ways of seeing things, and there are other ways of seeing things that actually, when you pay attention to them, make a little bit more sense of the text, to make a little more sense of theology, make a little more sense. Otherwise, I found it a real struggle personally. It's made things weird in my family relationships. I'm just going to be honest. It's made things really, really weird and uncomfortable. And I'm trying now to figure out how to move beyond sort of where I've been, which is sort of just avoid it. In Enneagram 7, we avoid pain. But figuring out how I might want to rethink about how to re-engage some of those relationships. But I think maybe it can be helpful to just sort of drop breadcrumbs along the way of people you trust, their wisdom and their work that could open the door. I hope that's helpful. Do we have anybody online? Not yet. In the room, yes. Yeah.
I mean, like, I want to love them because love
Yep.
is important, but they're just so full of hate, and there's so much that I don't love about them.
Yeah.
Including some friends and family that you can't avoid, and you do love them as a person, but not what they believe.
Yeah.
Help.
What I often say to people when I'm in a conversation with them and they're MAGA, I'll say, I love you, I just don't support your lifestyle. The question was, it's for a community like ours, it's sometimes it was pretty funny, wasn't it? It's sometimes easy for us to love marginalized folks, to love people who are on the underside of power. But what do you do? How do you love the people who are doing the harm? How do you love, for lack of a better term, the MAGA, the Trump-supporting folks in your life? And I would say a similar answer, which is, it may be that for well-being, you have to put some boundaries in place, right? Beyond that, I've really been thinking a lot about this, and I've been on a bit of a soapbox because I've seen other progressive voices, people I know and am friends with, who will go online and say things like, I wish there was a hell so so-and-so could go there. And the one response I have when I read that is, I don't think that makes us any better than the people who believe in hell and know we're going there. Right? I mean, you could say, well, we don't believe in hell. Okay, but you still wish there was for certain people. And so I think that in Jesus' teaching, one of the things he says is, you've heard it said, love people who love you, love people, but I'm telling you, love your enemies. And I think we have to figure out what that word love means, because I think we have so loaded the word love down with sentimentality. I don't think he's saying, hang out and be besties with your enemies. What I do think he's saying is, when there is a tendency in us to dehumanize the people we disagree with or have harmed us or hate or whatever, maybe our responsibility is to try to keep their humanity into full view. And one of the ways I've found that I've been able to hopefully avoid, and I'm sarcastic, and you don't want to know the number of posts I type out and delete. Just for my own benefit. I just need to see it in print and laugh at it, and then we can move on. But I don't want to put that stuff out in the world because I don't want to be a fundamentalist progressive. And what can happen is people leave behind an ideology but keep the methodology, and we keep the fundamentalist methodology. I see this, to be honest with you, when I deal with certain branches of atheism who are very much still operating in the same way that fundamentalist Christians do. They just have different conclusions. So in a conversation, where they'll say something like, well, if you don't believe every word of the Bible, you don't believe the Bible. I heard that from my fundamentalist friends, fundamentalist Christian friends. And so I think avoiding fundamentalism, avoiding dehumanization is the key. I'll tell you one practice I have, and it sounds creepy on the front end, but it's not as creepy as it sounds. Especially on a platform like Facebook, which I know that probably means I'm old. The kids aren't on the Facebook as much apparently these days. I don't know if that's news to some of you who love Facebook. But one of the things I'll do, especially when somebody says something really awful about me or about my theology or about something I believe, I decided I'm going to go to their page and I'm going to look at their photos and I'm going to find a picture of them with people they love. I'm going to find them doing something they love. I'm going to find them with a smile on their face. I'm going to find them doing something human with another human. And 9 times out of 10, when I can see the humanity of another person, then I can begin to address them as a fellow human being that I have deep disagreements with. You know, I'll say this. In 2008, I was a rabid supporter of Barack Obama. One of the best moments in that election was when John McCain was at a town hall and a woman got up and accused Obama of all sorts of things that weren't true. And McCain looked at her and said, no, he's a decent family man. We just have differences of policy and we have different opinions on how we should lead the country. I thought he was a threat to democracy or something. No, he was a decent human being who was able to see the humanity of somebody else. So I think remembering their humanity is key. And then we can have conversations about where we disagree and why I think the position of MAGA is dangerous for the country and it's dangerous for the world. Because I see what it's doing to people and it's harming them. I've never seen a clip of one of those rallies where I thought, those folks are having a good time. I've seen clips where I thought, they are violently angry almost in what they're chanting and what they're hoping for other people. I don't want to become that. And so I think being able to see the humanity in those we disagree with, being able to approach them and talk about issues, theologies, differences, and leaving it about that and not making it about them. Because one of the things I've learned is people end up where they are and how they are for a particular set of reasons. And if all we're doing is yelling at them on the surface, we're never able to move the needle. We have one online now? Does that make sense? Okay, let's see. Max. I'm not seeing the question. Which one? What's the question? I can't hear you. I'll meet you halfway. Let's Diamond Rio this.
I'm really drawn to exploring my relationship with God, but struggle with some of the traditional teachings like rejection of LGBT, women's rights, idea of non-believers are going to hell, destined for hell. Are there ways to grow in faith while still holding different views on these things? Yeah, are there ways to grow in faith without holding traditional conservative views on things like hell, sexuality, reproductive rights, and those sorts of things? I have good news of great joy for all people. There are definitely different ways of holding those views. I would say on any of those things you just brought up, I do not hold a traditional, and it's only traditional because people decided it like in the last 50 years. You realize what people call traditional Christianity in America, some of us in the room are older than. And if you were to get every different denomination together, this is the thing that really is frustrating to me, is we talk about Christianity as if it exists. As if there is a thing, a religion called Christianity where everybody in it agrees that this is what it is. I remember toward the end of grad school, I had a class, an ethnography class, and my teacher he taught in Asian religions, specifically in Buddhism, Taoism, those kind of things. And at the end of class, he said, you know what I do to my first year students every year? We get to the end of class where I've taught them, this is what Buddhism is. This is everything about it. This is what they believe. This is how they practice it. He says, I get them to the last day of class. They turn in the final exam. And then I say, I need everybody to hear me. None of what I taught you this semester is Buddhism, because Buddhism doesn't exist. There's no such thing as Buddhism. There are only Buddhisms. And it depends on the region and the people and the groups. There is no one thing called Buddhism. And in that moment, it clicked for me. There is nothing called Christianity. There are Christianities. And people practice differently and have different beliefs and different doctrines and dogmas. It's why we have 40,000 denominations. It's why there is no such thing as the Bible. There's our version of the Bible, and there's the Catholic version of the Bible, and the Ethiopian Tawahedo version of the Bible. And you see what I'm saying? There is no, we can't even agree on what the texts are.
universally. If you were to go to an Eastern Orthodox church and ask them about the Trinity, they're going to draw a diagram with God the Father at the top and the Spirit and Son coming down from the Father. If you go to a Catholic person in the West and say, explain the Trinity, they're going to draw God and Jesus and then a line to the Holy Spirit at the bottom. It's what broke those two churches apart in the 1000s. One word, split the churches. And they still to this day talk about it differently. So yes, there are ways of being Christian that are not what we would consider the loudest. And by the way, the loudest doesn't mean right, it doesn't mean best, and it doesn't mean good. It just means their microphone's turned up a bit more. And a lot of people have a lot invested in those particular things. But I tell you, I talk to pastors all the time who are Nicodemuses. Do you catch that reference? John chapter 3, Nicodemus sneaks over to Jesus in the night and he goes, I don't know if I agree with all this. I have pastors often who will reach out to me and say, I'm leading a conservative evangelical church, and yet I love my brother who's gay and I affirm him in private. So even folks who are propagating these terrible theologies and interpretations, even internally, many of them are moving. And I pray for two things. I pray for some folks to get courage. And I pray for them to realize that our tradition is based around a guy who was nailed to a cross and told us to pick ours up too. And that sometimes there is a cost to doing what is right. And I wish they would pay it. I wish they'd pay it. I wish they'd lose their jobs. I wish their churches would shrink. I wish they would pay it, because what they would do by doing so is they would literally save lives. I wish they'd pay it. And second, I wish church folks, people who are still going to churches that dehumanize their queer sister or grandchild or whatever, I wish that they would either leave and take their money with them, or I wish they would start speaking up and saying, what we're doing as a church, what we're saying as a church is not right, it is not good news, and we need to do something different. And maybe then the people who should have the courage up front leading would grow a little bit of a spine and do what is right, and what I think the Holy Spirit has been inviting us to do for a very, 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 very long time. So I hope that helps, Max. Dennis.
I have a question. I think get your thoughts.
Okay.
About looking at Jesus not as divine, but as an example, a simple example of how every day we should live our lives and how we go about doing it.
Yeah, so a question about looking at Jesus, not necessarily as divine, but as an example. And I can say one of the interesting developments for me, when growing up, everything was about Jesus' divinity. And it was almost like the person got lost in there somewhere. Like it was Jesus who walks on water, not Jesus who shops for groceries. Right? And I realized at some point, I need a Jesus who gets, shops for groceries and gets stuck in traffic and has a headache and is trying to figure out. And one of the interesting shifts for me has been over the years is scholars will talk about Jesus in two ways. They'll talk about the Jesus of history, like the person that existed, and scholars across the board, unless they're really fringe and out there, everybody will say he was an actual historical person who lived, he died under the Roman Empire, like that happened. There's the Jesus of history, and then there's the Christ of faith. And that is essentially what happened to Jesus theologically after his life, who he became in the church, who he became in theology. Over the years, I've become way more drawn to what you just described, the Jesus of history. The person who taught us how to live a certain way in the world, the person who announced that there are other ways of organizing ourselves as human beings. He called it the kingdom of God, which is this way of justice and generosity and compassion in the world, this way of making sure everybody has what they need, this way of making sure everybody has their space, that their God-given space to take up in the world. And so for me, Jesus is very much more the example I am called to follow. I honestly think if Jesus walked in right now and sat down and we were to say, Jesus, this is a church in the 21st century, give us thoughts, I think he would probably be a little embarrassed that this whole thing grew up around him. I think he might be a little embarrassed that, wait. You all get together and talk about what I said? Why don't you just go do it? Now, I think there's importance in talking about it. I've given my life to it. But it's only important if it actually leads to doing it. And so I think Jesus would actually wonder, how did a couple billion people end up in a religion named after me that looks very little like me? And to what I just previously said, it is because I think we have, instead of realizing Jesus took a cross and then said, go get yours, which I think can mean lots of different things, but at least it means following in the footsteps of Jesus, doing the hard things, even when they require something of us because it's right and it's good and it's just. I think Jesus would say, like, did you think I was doing this solo? I told you again and again and again, this is a corporate, this is a community, this is a we. This is not just a me, but it's way easier to make it about one person than it is to let that one person's example make us more like them. And I think this is what we do with many great human figures. Think about this. Every year in January, we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And every year in January, folks post about how great King was with the same few quotes, because they have not read the deep cuts. And deep down, if they were to ever read what King actually said, they would not be celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Because in his lifetime, his approval rating was underwater. Because King wasn't just advocating for civil rights, he was also advocating for the end of militarism. There's big money in militarism. He was advocating for a living wage for the poor. He was advocating for what Jesus advocated for. And we've done the same thing. It is much easier to celebrate Jesus as an ideal than to embody him as an example. And my hope is that what we do together at least causes us out in the world to go. I remember when I was in high school, that's when those WWJD bracelets came out. We used to, it was however many you could fit on your arm, that's how many you were supposed to wear. And while it may not be my choice of fashion anymore, I do think the question is important. Is what would it look like to embody Jesus, the ethic, the way, the vision of Jesus in any particular moment, in any particular situation? And I think if we were to spend more time trying to embody what we're talking about, Christianity would look really different. As a religion, we would look really, I don't think we would have billions of dollars of real estate. I mean, Jesus doesn't seem to, what do you say? The foxes have holes, the birds have nests, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. I don't think he would be wondering about, well, how's the steeple look? Is the cross exactly right on the steeple? I think he would say, I actually thought you should go do it, not just talk about it. Does that make sense? Awesome. Another online question here. Time goes so fast when we're doing this. I assume you guys have somewhere else to be. The chat's not showing up for me. Oh, there it is. How do we deal with people who push their beliefs, wanting others to hear? Is that it? How do we deal with people who push their beliefs, wanting others to hear, but holding no open-mindedness for anyone else's, believing they are right? Any strategies to foster compromise? The best strategy I've ever been given was from our friend Brian McLaren, who said that one of the things he practices is when he's in a conversation with somebody like that, his first thing to say is, when he listens to them, he says, wow, I see that differently. And then they'll respond like, well, how do you see it? And he'll say something like, I don't know that right now is a good time. But maybe at some point we'll be ready for that conversation. And what it does, first of all, it keeps you from an argument or a debate that you don't want to be in. But second, what it does is then it creates a little bit of curiosity. Because one thing that drives me crazier than anything is when somebody says, hey, and then you're like, what? They're like, never mind. Nope, now you got to tell me. You can't not tell me. It's like holding in a sneeze. I can't live the rest of my life not knowing what you were going to say. And I think it does generate a curiosity in people that if you just launched in with a counterpoint, because what happens when people talk is this person's talking and this person is formulating their response while they're talking, as opposed to sort of a brain reset. And when you sort of give people that opportunity, wow, I see that differently. Now they're curious. I've never done that with somebody where they were like, yeah, I didn't want to hear it anyway. And I have found it at least opens them up. It sort of pauses their brain for a second. They're not thinking about 3 points ahead of how you're a heretic. They're just like What were they going to say, and why won't they tell me what it is? And then you have an opportunity, if you choose to have maybe some sort of meaningful dialogue. Yes? Yep, you. I see that hand.
Okay. So my question is, how do we view outreach? Like, I know a lot of churches view it as like a way to recruit.
Yeah.
Change minds, but they do it kind of under the guise of volunteering and helping people. But how can we apply that and be able to go out into the community and help people?
It's a great question.
Without it coming across as recruiting?
Yeah, that's a great question. How do we actually reach out to people without it feeling, this was not your language, but I'll put my language on it, super, super gross, like you're just trying to convince people to join your club. And I'll give you an example. My kids right now, 3 of our littles are in an outdoor basketball league. We didn't know it was outdoor when we signed up for it, or else we would have signed up for a different kind of basketball league, one that was indoors, with air conditioning in this summer. But we were there at a game this past week, and a bunch of churches rolled up and had a block party. And this basketball league happens in a more under-resourced spot of town. And they had Christian music playing, and then they start teaching a Bible story, and the guy's talking about the fruits of the Spirit, which I had to not go over and tell him it's singular, it's not plural, but I let that go. Very proud. And then he starts talking about goodness, and then he launches into, but nobody's good. Thank you. That's the correct response. You're telling a group of kids who are all inherently lovely and good, nobody's good, you need something. And I remember thinking, yeah, this is gross. And if we don't leave, I'm not gonna be able to contain myself because this is just disgusting. The end of the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says to his disciples, go into all the world and make disciples, teach them to follow the teaching I've given you, and I'll be with you the whole time. Christians have interpreted that as go colonize the world for Jesus. I think that's a misinterpretation. Here's how I read the Great Commission now. Jesus says, and the Greek is not like go, it's more like as you go. Like the assumption is you're gonna go out into the world. As you go into the world, you are going to meet people who maybe aren't like you, who didn't grow up like you, haven't believed like you, and they're going to hear your message about the kingdom of God, about God's love for all humanity, about a seat at the table for every human. They're gonna hear that message, and they're gonna wanna be a part of it. Do not get in their way. And I think this goes directly to the struggle between the early Jesus movement, which began as a Jewish movement, and suddenly you have non-Jewish folks, Gentiles, who wanna be a part of it. And I think this is the Gospel of Matthew's way of saying, do not close this thing down to only people who look like you, speak like you, act like you, come from your background. You gotta open it up because God's love is for every human. And if people want to experience the divine in this particular stream, who are we to tell them they can't? And I think that's what outreach looks like. I think it looks like, well, first of all, sometimes we do stuff as a church. We'll do things for the school or and we tell them, you don't have to tell them who did this. We do. Now that gets us no advertisement. And I know there's part we want people to know. Of course we want people to know. But actually the best advertisement for a community is not us putting our sticker on a box of cookies we sent teachers the first week of school last year. What is the best advertisement for us is people saying to one another, you know what? Those folks over there actually seem to get it. And they're kind and compassionate and decent, and maybe we should check that out. Years ago when Rob Bell started Mars Hill Bible Church, I don't know if you've heard that story. Y'all know who Rob Bell is. You don't know who Rob Bell is? Oh, it's been enough time. People don't know who Rob, I'll tell you later. But Rob started this church in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It turned into a 10,000 member megachurch really quickly. But Rob, the way they did it is somebody bought a sign for the church and he made them take it down. And he said, I don't want to sign up. I don't want people to be able to identify the building. I want them to come because people tell them about it. And I still think that dog hunts, that if what you're doing matters, hopefully people are having conversations about it. And so I think one of the things that makes me feel gross is when churches do things like that, like they were doing, providing a we're going to give you dinner and then tell you you're going to hell. But it's really all about the churches doing it and not about the need being met. And it's all about the credit and not the service. And so I think we try to follow what Jesus said, which was, when you're being generous, don't let your right hand know what your left hand's doing. Show up and do good in the world for the sake of doing good in the world. Yes, you can invite people to be a part of what you're doing. Of course you can. As people hear about it, they may want to be a part of it. Absolutely, don't exclude anybody. But don't make this just about your thing. Does that make sense? I think it's actually about showing up and doing what Jesus said, even if we get no practical benefit from it, just because the actual practical benefit is the world getting better, alleviating suffering, and bringing the kingdom of God to earth as it is in heaven, one life, one relationship, one step at a time. Now, maybe that's why we have like what? How many people are here right now? Because we're not putting our logo on everything that we do. But I can sleep well at the end of the day knowing that we're not gross. And I don't have to, take showers after going to church because I feel like what we did was schmarmy. And that feels pretty good. We got online. You text me? Oh, Ricky, thanks. I'm not going to respond to that. When we have time, probably we'll do one more online and one more in the room. And then if you have more online, drop them in there and we'll try to catch them and I'll do something with them at some point. Okay. I want to answer all these. Angie asked, I'm fearful to be associated with the word Christian nowadays. I do not want to be a part of this hateful Christianity, so what do I call myself? It's a great question. I think a lot of us feel that tension. Here's why I've decided to keep calling myself Christian. And it's a conscious choice. Partly it is to annoy people who keep telling me I'm not. Added benefit. But really, here's why. Christianity is a religion of 2 billion plus people. It's the largest religion in the world. If I disaffiliate and say I'm not going to call myself that anymore, which I don't, if you want to do that, absolutely do it. You don't need a label. You can call yourself a Jesus follower. You can call yourself a decent human being. Whatever you want to call yourself, let's just be decent human beings. The reason I keep using Christian is because that word carries a lot, yes, of baggage, but that word also carries a lot of gravitas. It carries a lot of weight. It's a brand. It's a word that the brand has a lot of equity in it. Would you agree? I don't want to cede all of that to the people who are using it to make the world a worse place. I want other Christians to hear, who are listening to MAGA preachers who are helping them burn the world down. I want them to hear, you can be Christian and still be Christ-like. You can be Christian, you can claim that title, that tradition, that name, and you can show up in the world and show people a different kind of Christian. And that's what I hope we're doing. That's why we still call ourselves a Christian church. Now, not everybody in this church is Christian. We have folks who are part of our church who are atheist and agnostic. We have some who don't know how they feel or how they identify or affiliate. We have folks who are from pagan tradition. We have folks from all sorts of different traditions who have sort of gotten together around what I would call not theology, but around trying to become better people together, which is, I think, what church should do. If you leave church and you're a worse person, don't go back to that church, because it's doing the opposite of what it should do. And if you go to a church and feel like feel awful when you leave there, like you're awful, terrible, you can't do anything right, don't go back to that church. Why would you do that? Heard Marcus Borg say once, life is too short to be miserable. Going to a church that doesn't see you, know you, love you, any of those things. But I hope they hear that you can still, I'm passionately Christian, maybe more than I ever have been in my entire life. It just means something different to me now. But I won't give them that name to drag through the mud without an alternative being present. And the same thing's true about the Bible. Look, I love the Bible. I know not everybody does. And somebody asked me recently, what would you say to somebody who doesn't think they should read their Bible every day? You do you. Like, that's what I would say to the person. The Bible's helpful for some people. It's maybe for other people, it's a symbol of it's been weaponized and it's been a symbol of oppression for them. I would never tell people to do that. But the reason I keep talking about the Bible publicly is because if people don't offer alternatives, the only people talking about the Bible publicly are people who are using it to hurt other people. And I just want to make sure people know there are ways of being Christian, Christ-like, following Jesus in this orbit. There are ways of doing that are just and generous and compassionate and actually make the world better. So one more and then we'll wrap up. All right, we'll do two more. We'll start there and then go there.
I don't understand what faith is, what that word means.
Oh, what does the word faith mean?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what
Yeah, I think the way it's been given to many of us is faith means believing things that are hard to believe. In the original language of the New Testament, the word faith is the word pistis, which is fun to say, and when you first learn it, it sounds like you're saying something else. It's the word pistis, and it really just simply means trust. It doesn't mean believing things that are hard to believe. It simply means trust. Well, let's say if you're going to have faith in Jesus would mean that I'm placing trust in his vision for life. I'm placing trust in his message. Faith in God would be whatever the word God means to you. I'm placing trust in that reality we call God. It doesn't mean believing things that are hard to believe. And I think that comes through, though, when you talk to lots and lots of Christians who are like, well, the world was made in 6,000 days. I have faith. No, you just have bad information. It's not faith. It's just bad information. And so, simply trust.
That really clears things up for me. Thank you.
Wow. That's why I showed up to work today. Yep.
Wondering if mission work, specifically in foreign countries, can be ethical, or if that always leads to colonialism, essentially.
That's a great, can mission work in, I shouldn't have called it. No, I'm kidding. Can mission work in other countries be ethical, or does it always lead to colonialization? Look, I don't know. Because most of the ways we've seen it has simply been, the thing that always really gets me is when especially white Christians want to take Jesus to parts of Africa. I'm like, Christianity arrived in Africa before America was a twinkle in somebody's daddy's eye. Like it way predates us. And so is it possible to go do good in other places? Probably. I just wonder, like, why do they want me, who has no skills at something, to go do something when there are people who are actually skilled? Like when a disaster happens and they're like, we're taking a group from the church to go solve that disaster. I'm like, but have you heard of the Red Cross or FEMA? Maybe we ask them how we can help them. Whether that's they need bodies and then we sign up and go help with them, or whether it's they need supplies and we collect them and give them to them, or whether they need donations and we give to them. So I think one of the problems Christians have had is we always want to do our own thing because then we get the credit. Or we get the proselyte. We can count the baptisms. Did y'all go to churches that would do that? Like we had 300 people baptized last year. Some of them for the 5th time. But we count it because they got in the water, right? And I think we have to move away from egoic Christianity and egoic church, which is if it doesn't have our logo and we don't get the credit, we aren't a part of it. And to say, what if we could find organizations that have experts who know how to do this work? And then we say, whatever you need, that's where we come in. You need resources, we'll help raise resources. You need supplies, we'll help get supplies. You need bodies, we'll find you bodies. And then you go and do whatever it is you're doing without giving people an altar call at the end of it. Because if it is a carrot on a string and you're just trying to convert people to your brand of Christianity, then you aren't really doing good in the world. You're trying to convert people to your version of Christianity. Does that make sense? And so I think there are probably ethical ways of doing some of that, as long as it doesn't lead to just our brand, our converting people, and maybe in partnership with experts who know what they're doing. But I don't even know if you would call that mission work or just being a decent human being. You know, that's a great. I'm going to think more about that and talk to other people who know more about it than I do, and maybe I can say more about it. Yeah, did I see? Is there something else? I'm not supposed to be on my phone at work. How do I deconstruct the toxic notion that bad things happen are a punishment from God for not doing things his or their way? Oh, y'all have lunch plans? Jesus and his disciples are walking along in John 9. They see a man who had been born blind from birth, and they ask the question, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Now, we think that's a really kind of a jerk thing to say. It was the common worldview of Jesus' day. If something bad happened to you, you're being punished. I know lots of people who still believe that today. They're going through the worst day of their life. They're like, well, this must be because I did or didn't do. I ran the stop sign, I was speeding, I cheated on my taxes, whatever. I did a thing and now this is God's punishment. How do you deconstruct that? I think you deconstruct that with a better image of God. With an image of God who actually loves you. I love my children. Sometimes they get hurt and sometimes bad things happen. It is never my will or desire. If they do something wrong, it is not my desire that their entire life be ruined and punished because they didn't measure up to some standard I probably didn't even tell them I had. We need a better image of God. First of all, I don't think God controls the ins and outs of our lives in every day. We're going to talk next week is Stan. The next week we're starting a series called Grace Point 201. The first week of that series we're going to talk about God, and we're going to talk about different lenses and ways of thinking about God that aren't the traditional man upstairs with the white beard that so many of us can no longer believe in. I'm going to spend that whole entire Sunday just saying, what are other ways of thinking about God? And so let's do this so we don't keep y'all too long. In 2 weeks, on August 10th, I'll address that question more fully as we talk about things like open and relational theology, as we talk about different versions and visions of God, because I think at the core of toxic religion is a toxic deity. And that is our interpretation of God. That is not the reality of God. And I think we have to come back to that again and again. What we say about God is not God. It is our perspective, our limited opinion, our limited way of trying to speak about the unspeakable. And we have to do it. We have to do it. We just can't help ourselves. We have to do it. But I think we have to do it in a kind of humility that is lacking from lots of especially hardcore religion, where people speak and they think they just named God, they just defined God. And really God is just, my assumption is always, I'm wrong. I'm wrong about so many things about God. But where I'm wrong, it is not because I have wagered too much on God's love and goodness. It is because I have not wagered enough yet. And we'll pick that up in 2 weeks. Does that sound good? All right, let's pray. God, thanks for these lovely, lovely people, both those who are in this room with us, those who are joining us online. Thank you for these questions. Thank you for how thoughtful this group of folks are and for this journey that we're on together. My prayer today is that we will always remain curious, that we will always remain open, and that we will realize in these matters that we're talking about, which seem so big and critical, and they are, remind us that we are safe in these conversations. That we may discover that you are more loving than we imagined, but we will not discover that you are worse than we could conceive. And may we continue to knit ourselves together as a group of people who not only talk about things that matter, but who, through the way we show up in the world together, we do things that matter as well. We offer this in gratitude in the name of Jesus. And everybody said,
We're going to end today with a song I think most of us know. It's a Beatles song, but it was done by Joe Cocker. And so why don't we all stand? I think we're going to sing the chorus together. Thanks for being with us today. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ear and I'll sing you a song. And I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh yeah, I get by with a little help from my friends. I stay high with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Oh, yeah. And what do I do when my love is away? doesn't worry me to be on my own. And how do I feel at the end of the day? I'm not sad 'cause I'm never alone. Oh yes, I get by with a little help from my friends. I stay high with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Whoa. And do you need anybody? Yeah, I need someone to love. Could it be anybody? All I need is somebody to love. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friend. I stay high with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Whoa. Come on, sing it again. I get by with a little help from my friends. Yes, I do. I stay high with a little help from my friends. Oh, yes. I get by with a little help from my friends. I get by with a little help from my friends.
All right, before we release you to go home and binge the Wonder Years, just remember, we're going to put the QR code back up. If you want to know what's happening at Grace Point, what the announcements are, you can fill out the Connect card there, or you can find it there as well. And that's where you can sign up for the upcoming end of summer social. That's where you can sign up for the volunteer bash. And then one of the things we talk about each week at Grace Point is giving. And we often talk about it like, we're sorry we have to bring this up. This is awkward and uncomfortable. I'm done with that. Here's the thing. I'm excited to give you an opportunity. If this community matters to you, if you believe our work is significant, if you believe people need what we offer, then I'm not a bit shy anymore about saying we would love for you in whatever way you can to become a sustaining part of making the work and life of this community happen. Because without that, it doesn't continue. And so we need your support, we need your partnership, and we're excited to invite you into it because we have good things going on and we have more good things we're planning for the future. And we're gonna leave this world better than we found it if we have to, whatever it takes. Amen? Thanks for being here, Grace Point. We'll see you next week.